Can you reschedule your upcoming PM interviews at top tech companies? And if so, how? And when should you do it? And when is it worth it? When is it not worth it? Let's unpack some of this stuff right now. So the short answer is yes, you can. You can reschedule it. But of course, there's some nuance around it. What you need to know before asking, how to do it without actually hurting your chances or inserting a big problem along the way, and will it even help to reschedule? So let's unpack this. You might be thinking, am I screwing up my one shot if I reschedule? Or will they think I'm underprepared or I'm not a serious candidate? Or maybe this will hurt my chances. Will it? Will they, the scariest one of all, rescind my interview? Will they just cancel the interview, tell you, no, can't reschedule, and also don't even come to the interview? Well, let's unpack all of these. So first of all, is it ever okay to reschedule? So what are some reasonable causes for rescheduling? The fundamental one is that you just want to get more prepared. You don't feel ready. And I think you have to evaluate what is coming up, what is the value of this potential offer or company versus your preparedness level, how well prepared you actually feel. So I think it is a good reason. You should feel like you have a good shot at a particular interview before you go into it, especially if you don't have that many interviews coming up. So that changes the perceived value of the interview. If you have too many interviews coming up, if you have a lot of different interviews coming up, it might make sense to reschedule some in order to increase your chances of getting multiple offers at the same time. Nothing will increase your total final compensation at a company more than multiple offers when you can show or say confidently that you've got other offers. If you have health issues or you're sick or you just can't perform at a top level, then it's basically like coming in underprepared. That is a good reason to reschedule. Not great reasons are, hey, I just want a few more days of prep, just a little bit more and I'm there. It's a little bit of nerves at play. If you're ready, a few more days are not really going to make a huge difference. So when we reschedule inside PCA, we like to move those interviews a significant amount of time to actually allow us to prepare meaningfully during that time frame. If we're just moving it 2, 3, 4, 5 days, usually won't make a difference. Or I haven't had time to prepare. Well, I knew I had this interview coming up. It was scheduled a month ago, but gee, I just haven't had a chance to prepare, and I've got this meta interview coming up. Should we reschedule? Probably still yes, but you really want to think hard about why you're in this situation in the first place. Why did you not prepare if you had a month and you knew this was coming up? Feels like you're not taking this seriously. If you reschedule another month, are you just going to do it again, not prepare again, and be in the same exact spot? Unfortunately, these are some of the things that we've seen. So this is a good reminder for you. Take it seriously and show up, do the prep, do the work, and get as ready as you can. All right, let's say you decided to actually make a rescheduling request. We're going to ask to reschedule. How should we do it? Email, phone versus text, depending on the relationship that you have with your recruiter. You may be able to text them. You may be able to call them. You may be able to email them. I recommend email, obviously the simplest one, but it also depends on whether you have a scheduling link and what stage you're on. In fact, let's actually talk about that first before how do you phrase the reschedule request. Let's talk about these different stages. You could want to reschedule your recruiter screen, your hiring manager screen or initial round, your first stage interview at Meta, for instance, Product, Sense, and Analytical, or your final loop, which is a set of 3, 4, 5 interviews before or after which there's a consideration for whether they make an offer or not. So let's take these one at a time. Recruiter screen. You have not had a recruiter screen. You've reached out to someone. They said, yes, let's connect next Thursday. You feel underprepared. Don't reschedule it. You basically never reschedule first time recruiter screens. If you have no contact and you've made contact, a recruiter contacted you or you contacted a recruiter, they responded, and you've got this initial meeting on the calendar, I would not really reschedule those unless you really have not prepped at all. And if that's the case, then I would only reschedule by saying, are you available on next Thursday or Friday instead? I have a conflict and I'm trying to see if I can make it work. If not, I will still make it work. You leave the door open to keeping the original time. So that's the only way that I would recommend to reschedule the recruiter screens. The reason I think about it like that is because we don't want to lose the opportunity to go deeper down into the funnel and make more connections, meet more people in that company, and really have more opportunities at landing the job at that company. Hiring manager screen, you could reschedule. You've already got the connection with the recruiter. It feels like you're a good fit. And I think it's perfectly appropriate to reschedule unless there is an urgent need. This position needs to be filled immediately. And they're always going to say it's an urgent need, but you're looking for some reason of why it's an urgent need. If you can get the recruiter to actually explain this part to you, then we believe that a little bit more than just a recruiter saying, hey, we need this role filled yesterday. That's always the case. We always need to fill the role yesterday. So hiring manager screens are okay to move, but not more than once. And recruiter screens, same thing. If you're going to move them, don't move them more than once. Now, first stage interview, you have a little bit more flexibility. You could even move this multiple times. We've moved meta interviews, for instance, 2-3 times, not really ever more than 3. But you have a little bit more flexibility there. You've spoken with the recruiter, you've spoken with the hiring manager, sometimes not. And they've cleared you to proceed for the interview. Again, unless there's a rush, you really want to feel prepared for this one. And it's okay to reschedule it if you want to. Your final loop is even deeper in. This is after you've already had a couple of rounds of interviews at this company, and they've evaluated you and they've passed you, which means you've got some positive signal already. You've got some sort of positive credibility going. Again, totally fine to reschedule up to 3 times in most companies. The smaller the company, the fewer times they will accept the reschedule. The bigger the company, the more times you could reschedule. Things happen. All right, now that we talked about the different types of rescheduling timeframes, let's talk about how do we phrase this reschedule request. Usually it's very straightforward. Hey, I'm juggling a few things at the moment, and I want to make sure I bring my best to the interview or to the discussions. Would it be possible to move our interviews to date X? And this date X should be at least 2.5, 3.5 weeks out. And then you can say, I have broad availability in those timeframes, so please let me know what works for you. What we want is either a scheduling link, or we want some confidence that the recruiter can make that updated timeframe work. We don't want to push it off more than a month because they might say, hey, why don't you come back when you're ready? But we also don't necessarily want to push it off just half a week or sometimes even 2, because it doesn't give us enough meaningful time to actually proceed with preparation. As you know, or inside PCA, Product Career Accelerator, we do extensive preparation on interview prep of all kinds for all companies, so product design, strategy, analytical, and it takes time to refine, to identify the areas where you've made mistakes, to calibrate your answers, and then to internalize and actually accept some of these learnings. So very simple. Don't do a giant paragraph. Don't ask ChatGPT to write you a very compelling letter. Just very, very straightforward. Leave the door open to leaving the original time frame if it is super important, but we just want to propose this. Here's some more details and nuance around this. How many times can I reschedule this? It depends. With bigger companies, like I said, you can go up to 3, but you have to kind of feel it out, and don't take this for granted. But at the same time, don't be afraid to reschedule if you have to. How much notice do I need to give? The more, the better. If you can figure this out 2, 3, 4 days before the interviews and ask, that's ideal. If you have the interview coming up tomorrow and you're really not in good shape, then just go ahead and make the ask as soon as you can. Text, call, email, really follow up, try to see if you can do it. A lot of the times, the people that are doing the interviewing actually at these companies, when they get a last minute interview cancellation, they are excited. Take it from someone who's done hundreds of interviews at Google. It's pretty exciting to get some time back on your calendar from having to do these interviews. Unless it's the hiring manager, which is very hard to reschedule last minute. But any other rounds, it should be fine to reschedule last minute as well. Okay, how do I know when it's appropriate to actually reschedule? So here are some things you want to think about. Your readiness. Do a self-assessment. How ready do you feel, 1 out of 10, for everything that is going to come your way? Do you understand what's going to happen in the interviews? Do you have a good idea of the questions that are going to be asked? Like, do you know what questions to expect? Do you know, how do you feel about your readiness to answer these questions? Can you answer these questions? Rate this 1 to 10. Think about product design, think about strategy, product strategy, business, think about analytical, think about case studies, think about behavioral questions. Tell me about yourself, all of these questions, and the specificity about the round that you've got coming up. If it's recruiter, hiring manager, whatever, just write down what are the types of questions that could come, How do I feel about my readiness for it? And then ideally, you would have a calibrated PM interviewer or coach, like we have inside PCA, actually give you an assessment. Here is how your response is now in terms of content. Here's how your response is in terms of delivery. Here's where you are. Here's where the areas of improvement are. And then you're never going to be perfect. Don't strive to hit 10 out of 10, but you want to feel relatively good about your readiness before you go in. And you want to weigh that against the relative importance of this interview that's coming up. If it's 1 out of 10 interviews you have coming up, maybe we don't need to reschedule. It's not that important. If it's 1 out of 2 interviews, maybe it is very important. If that interview is for Meta or Google, who are the top of their band, or Netflix, who pay the most, maybe it's more important. If it's a smaller startup, maybe it's less important. Those are some considerations you want to keep in mind. In terms of what we've seen inside PCA, we've rescheduled Google, Meta, DoorDash, Stripe, Tesla, Intuit, PayPal, because we manage our clients' interview pipeline. We try to really understand what's going on, what's coming down the pipeline, to make sure that we can optimize the chances of actually getting an offer or multiple offers. And so we've done a lot of these reschedules. So fundamentally, no one has rescinded so far, but your mileage may vary. Please be reasonable, kind of use common sense when you think about this, and really evaluate the options in front of you. If you've already rescheduled a couple of times, though, it may be worth it just to go ahead and do the interview. Keep in mind that most big tech companies have what's called a cool down period, which is a 6 and often 12-month period where you cannot apply. But if you scored high enough in the interviews, you can come back. They want you to come back and try again. So it's a bit of a bummer sometimes when you can't apply for 12 months, but at the same time, it's an open door to come back if you do good enough to get that invite back in 12 months. And that's why sometimes, even if you do okay on the interview performance, but not terrible, it still keeps the door open. All right, hopefully this is helpful, and you now know how to reschedule your PM interviews. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you next time.